Hello, recording to Arif.
Recording in progress.
Quality Assurance Division, University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. Special guest and speaker, Dr. Eba Nelson, Professor of Innovation and Open Online Learning at KTU, Sweden. Guest of honor and speaker, Dr. A.K.M. Fazlul Haq, Professor of Electronics and Telecom Engineering Department and Director of IQSC, Daffodil International University. Mr. Khandakar Shah Al Mamun, Deputy Director of BLC and HR at Daffodil International University, and Dr. Muhammad Akhtaruzaman, Director of Blended Learning Center at DIU as Session Reactors. Respected faculty, deans, heads of departments, teachers, students, and dear participants who joined with us virtually. Assalamu alaikum. I, Tasina Yasmin, moderator of the program, welcome you all to the webinar on quality of higher education in blended and online learning, Europe and Bangladesh perspectives, organized by the Blended Learning Center in association with the IQSC of DIU Bangladesh. Let me first, at the onset, introduce you to Daffodil International University because we have international guests with us. It is the country's leading university in terms of blended online and digital education, which was established in January 2002. Within less than 20 years, under the guidance and support from the UGC and Ministry of Education, Bangladesh, the university achieved remarkable success in teaching, research, innovation, publication, international outlook, best green campus, and so on. According to QS University Rankings Asia 2021, DIU is a top-ranked private university among all the participating universities in Bangladesh. DIU also placed first among universities ranked from Bangladesh in Times Higher Education Impact Ranking 2021. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am welcoming you to this webinar, which will talk about Europe and Bangladesh perspectives in terms of higher education. And at the very onset, we will hear from Dr. Eba Nelson, and I would like to introduce you to her. So our special guest and speaker of today's event, Professor Eba Nelson, in brief, Dr. Nelson is a professor in innovation and open online learning. She is the vice president of the Swedish Association for Distance Education and a board member in Job and Skills Coalition, Sweden. She is in ICDE and EDEN Executive Committee. In addition, she is a quality reviewer at ICDE and EADTU, the chair of the ICDE OER Advocacy Committee and ICDE OER Ambassador. Dr. Nelson is a member of ICOBC and chair of the Committee for Taxonomy and Quality Grade. She works for the European Commission, UNESCO, COL, and ITCILO. Now I request Professor Eba Nelson to deliver her presentation. Dr. Nelson, if you could unmute yourself because you're still muted.
Sorry. I thought I did.
That's okay.
So thank you very much for this very kind and nice introduction. And thank you so much for the kind invitation to be together here with you for this very nice conference, an interesting conference on quality of higher education in blended online learning, the European and Bangladesh perspectives. There is not any topic which is more relevant nowadays than this one due to the pandemic. So distinguished guests, participants, students, academics, professors, I will share together with you some of my insights about quality in open online learning. So I will talk to you. I'm coming from Sweden, and I'm joining you from my city, which is Lund. I have been in this area for some 20 years, mainly at Lund University, but 6 years ago, I decided to be an independent consultant and researcher in this field. So I will talk to you about the context we're working in, about quality frameworks, about benchmarking, and the need for rethinking the quality agenda due to this new normal we are facing. I always start my presentations with the initiative by UNESCO because they are the foundation of our work for education, and not at least the SDGs and the SDG 4 to ensure quality education for all. And we know all the 5 pillars about equity, equality, quality, lifelong learning, accessibility, inclusiveness, etc. But it has been also very clear that goal number 3 about good health and well-being is crucial in the educational settings and the system, not at least due to the pandemic. There's also another initiative by UNESCO, which is called the Futures of Education, Learning to Become, which really goes beyond the SDGs, but also take the learner's perspective to a very much higher extent. And not just that the institutions are offering courses, modules, degrees, whatever, but really what is needed by the learners, the people out there. In Europe, we have recently launched our Digital Education Action Plan for 21-27. And there are 2 pillars in that one. It is about fostering the development of high-performing digital education's ecosystem. And I would really stress the ecosystem, because what we're doing in courses is not good enough. You need to see that the total ecosystem in the educational settings. And the second one is about enhancing digital skills and competences for digital transformation. When we talk about quality, what is quality? It is like beauty. It is in the eye of the beholder. So it depends who is defining the agenda. And we need to ask us those questions: why, who, when, what, which levels, and how, when we're talking about quality. I often, as I think you as well, you are in the panel today, got the question about what is quality. You can't really answer that without defining those questions, because it's needed to see it as an ecosystem. And also within the triple helix approach, the university, industry, and government, and of course the people. So in the new quality agenda, we really need to learn to know our learners and to build relationships with the students. And there's a lot of science in recent research. And that has also been very clear due to the pandemic, that there are huge needs to learn to know the learners and their circumstances, their infrastructure, their behavior, their motivation, their incentives, etc., etc. And they are very, very heterogeneous group. They are heterogeneous in campus as well, but in online learning, they are definitely heterogeneous. Already, the pioneer in open online learning, Börje Holmberg, actually he was from Sweden. He passed away months ago, 97 years old, and he is a good friend of mine and also my neighbor. Maybe some of you have seen the books or read the books about theory and practice of distance education. And he already, in the early 70s, stressed about to learn to know the learners and their personal interests and to have trustful communication, the importance of interactions, conversation, and atmosphere. And that he actually coined the concept of emphatic learning. And he also stressed very much the lifelong learning throughout the lifespan. And to create and design learning processes that leads to real internalization of learning, learning how to learn. and to transform that in different kind of contexts. Myself, I did research work for ICDE some years ago together with research colleagues, and we reviewed over 40 plus quality models around the globe in online and open education. And as this is also about blended learning, I wrote a book for ICD as well about blended learning and quality. So what we looked at was that there are different kind of approaches for quality. Is it more like norm-based, like accreditation, or is it more like process-based, like guidance, frameworks, benchmarking, quality enhancement? And all over those 40 models, you could extract some 6 or 3 components or dimensions which are important, and that is about the management, the planning and strategy, the products, the courses as such, and the services, staff and student. And that is not just for the pedagogical service and technology service, it's also about well-being. But you need to see the learners in the center. And for learners, there are special dimensions which are important, like flexibility, interactivity, accessibility, personal, transparency, presence, trust, just to mention some. This is an image of what I just have been said. You need to see the student in the center and look at those 3 dimensions. And then there are special categories which are important for the learners. So I'm now showing you some different kind of examples of quality frameworks. In Europe, we are working on the European Standard and Guidelines. It was launched already in 2015. But in 2016, they extended that for consideration for quality assurance in e-learning provisions. And they divided it into 3 parts. First, the internal quality assurance, then the external quality assurance. But most of all, also recommendation for quality assurance agencies and higher education institutions, because we all know what quality assurance agencies are asking for, universities are delivering. So they need to, that is why one of the reasons why will argue for agenda. So just to show you examples about the internal quality assurance, you see here again, policy, design, student support, learner support, teacher support, etc. They are rather similar, what I just showed you in one of the previous slides about the extract from those 40 plus models we researched. And those are the external quality assurance dimensions. For example, about implementing processes, about peer review experts, about reporting, and designing methodologies. In Europe, we also have a very large project which is called the Tesla project. And you see the standards they are working with are more or less the same as we've been talking about: policies, assessment, infrastructure, student support, teaching and staff support. In Europe, we also have the European Association Distance Teaching University, who are working on quality in open online learning and distance learning and blended learning. And they have done a lot of research. I have been a researcher for them myself. And actually my PhD dissertation was about this e-excellence, quality assessment for e-learning and benchmarking approach. And I'm also the co-author for the 3rd manual for the e-excellence. With this, you can both self-assess you online, and you can also have a peer review by experts. I'm working with AADTU as an expert, so I've done a lot of peer reviews at universities and for courses. Then they have also the Open Up Ed framework, which is mainly for MOOCs. And recently, they are working with the Empower for higher education with different kind of field of expertise, like if you would like to deep into courses and curriculum, student support, about assessment, about OER and MOOCs, just to mention some. Another frame of reference for open education is the one from Joint Research Center by the European Commission. They have this model with the 10 dimensions. There are 4 transversal dimensions about leadership, strategy, technology, equality, and 6 core dimensions: content, pedagogy, recognition, collaboration, research, and access. And as you can understand, this framework is very much to have the approach with an ecosystem and a holistic approach, because, for example, the leadership have to relate to what kind of content are we delivering, are we working with, what is the pedagogy, how do we deal with recognition. So all those 10 dimensions are interrelated, both the transversal one, but also together with the core dimensions. So now I will show you another one. I think many of you in Bangladesh know Badrul Khan and his quality framework. He has actually started with the e-learning framework, and he has developed it further on, for example, for MOOCs, for blended learning, for AI, etc. And as you can see, he's also working with more or less the same kind of approach that we have been talking about so far. There need to be those, in his case, those 8 dimensions, and each of them have, of course, some underheadings and under dimensions. But you need, again, to have this ecosystem. Currently, he is working with a new book about the new normal, applying this model as well. And I'm working together with him and have the honor to do so, and also to translate the book the forthcoming book into Swedish. So we are working very closely together. Recently, there was a launch of a consortium for benchmarking framework for online, open, smart, and technology-enhanced higher education. And I decided to show you this one because it is a new consortium. And in case you are not involved already, please have a look at it. From ICDE, we have recently joined, and also with EIDTU, the European Association for Distance Education. So again, because we are more similar than we are different around the globe, of course, we need to look at quality in our own context, and also related to the system, educational system, but the quality assurance system we have in our nations. So by that, I will argue that there is a need for a new quality agenda, which is not just monitoring the traditional dimensions like enrollment, like degrees, like assessments and this kind of thing. We need much more to look at the impact, and also about satisfaction, engagement, and the contribution of the education to develop both the individuals and the society growth. We need to look at well-being and health, and that has been very, very explicit during the pandemic, that many students worldwide have suffered a lot because the educational system have been closed down or been disrupted. The needs for learning for creative citizens of today and for the future, about innovation, creativity. And I mentioned in the beginning the importance of triple helix approach to work together with the labor market. We have now, for example, an expanding arena with micro-credentials and micro-learning. But again, most of all, as I started with SDG, education is aiming for social justice, equity, equality, and lifelong learning, etc. So those kind of approaches need to be implemented in the new quality agenda for the new normal. So by that, I would like to thank you very much, and I will know there will be a discussion after all the presenters in the panel, so I would be happy to continue to discuss with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Ebba Åse-Nilsson, for that compact, precise presentation covering a lot of areas. And we indeed have a lot of questions, and we will wait for the question answer session. We were supposed to have Professor Dr. Ekem Fazlul Haq, who is the director of the Institutional Quality Assurance Cell, IQSC, at Daffodil International University. Unfortunately, Professor Haq has some technical problems and he couldn't join. So I'm going to move on with Mr. Khondakar Shah Al Mamun, who is one of the pioneer members at Daffodil who work with our Blended Learning Center, BLC. And I'll give the floor to Mamun for briefly discussing what Daffodil has been doing during this pandemic. Mamun, over to you.
Madam.
Well, Mamun has switched on his mic and video. So is there a problem, Mamun? We can't hear you. Okay. All right. Yes, I think Mamun is having a technical problem as well. So we will now move on with the chief guest of today's program. And I am sure that Dr. Muhammad Fakhrul Islam already listened to Professor Eba Osia Nilsson's presentation and speech, and he has much to say. And as he is working in UGC, he can actually shed some light about the Bangladeshi perspective. Meanwhile, let me tell you that if you have any questions, you can post them because this program is broadcast live in our social media, and you can also post it in our Zoom chat box, and we will get back to you. So before I give the floor to Dr. Muhammad Fakhrul Islam, let me briefly introduce you to him. He is now currently working as the Director of Strategic Planning and Quality Assurance SPQA Division at the University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. Dr. Islam obtained his MA, MPhil, and PhD degree in English from the University of Dhaka. Moreover, he was awarded with British Council Scholarship in 2000 and completed his diploma in ELT from the Exeter University, United Kingdom. He was also awarded with MTCP Malaysia, NAFIC, the Royal Netherlands, SIDA, Sweden, SCP, Singapore Cooperation Program, SDC, SARC Development Center Senior Fellowship, and got higher training on educational management, administration, policy, and leadership. Dr. Islam is the author of 3 books, namely Higher Education in Bangladesh, Prospect and Challenges, Shakespeare's Impact on Modern Bengali Plays, and Shikha Bigyan o Bangladeshe Shikha, Education Science and Education in Bangladesh, published by the University Grants Commission, Bangladesh. Meanwhile, he has visited many countries of the world, including India, Malaysia, Singapore, England, Australia, France, Netherlands, Sweden, Finland, Italy, USA, and Germany in connection to higher study, training, workshop, seminar, etc. Dr. Islam has published a good number of research articles in national and international peer-reviewed journals. He is also a regular contributor to the national dailies on the issues of higher education, quality education, and contemporary world, and so on. Now I request Dr. Muhammad Fakhrul Islam to deliver his speech.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Esteemed special guest and distinguished speaker of today's seminar, Professor Dr. Eva, Department of Innovation and Open Learning, KTU, Sweden, and Vice President of the Swedish Association of Distance Learning, Director of IQC, Professor Dr. Ekem Fazlul Haq, though he's not yet connected with us, Director of Blended Learning Center of DIU, Dr. Muhammad Akhtaruzzaman, respected deans, faculty members, participants, and other dignitaries from home and abroad, those who are watching this program on virtual platform. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. I'm very much delighted to be here today at the Quality of Higher Education in Blended Online Learning, Europe and Bangladesh Perspective Seminar through virtual and Facebook platform. I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to the University Authority and Honorable Directors of IQLC and Blended Learning Center in particular for arranging such kind of online gathering today during COVID-19 pandemic situation. Dignitaries. As you know, Bangladesh achieved its independence under the charismatic leadership of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, in 1971. 3 million people sacrificed their invaluable lives during Great Liberation War. Bangabandhu recognized the importance of quantity as well as quality of higher education towards build a knowledge-based society in bloodshed Bangladesh. Accordingly, the University Grants Commission of Bangladesh was established on 16 December 1972 and later enacted as an apex and statutory body in higher education under the Presidential Order number 10 of 1973. Dear participants, today I personally applauded indeed to inform on the eve of 50 years of independence that United Nations final recommendation for Bangladesh graduation to a developing country from the LDC status in a historic event. As you know, it's the first step for Bangladesh to turn the country into a middle income country by 2031 and a developed one by 2041. Will be respected by the world after the graduation from the LDC status. I'm also overwhelmed for publishing acknowledgement of Bangladesh success stories and our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visionary leadership in Pakistani magazine named South Asia. In its March issue, the magazine has published a total of 7 stories, including achieving socio-economic progress and tackling the coronavirus pandemic and highlighting the success and achievements of Bangladesh and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. I'm more than happy to know that the University Authority organizes international conferences, workshops, seminars, lectures, and other intellectual events on regular basis to make knowledge-based society. I'd like to congratulate our Honorable Director of Blended Learning Center and IQLC for arranging such kind of time-befitting event. By implementing blended learning method, outcome-based education, and Bangladesh National Qualification Framework in higher education, a good number of universities will be able to acclaim world ranking and establish a new height in near future. Thus, OV and Bangladesh National Qualification Framework will shape our nation for the qualitative development. Besides, it is a prime demand to make sure sustainable development goals by 2030 by ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and provide lifelong learning opportunities for all. As you know, Bangladesh government has declared 8 5-year plan, and we want to be the 24th largest economy by 2033, and we want to be a developed country by 2041, and we have dental plan 2100 to take the opportunity of demographic dividend and 4th industry revolution. University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education is working relentlessly to achieve our all goals. Bangladesh National Qualification Framework promotes qualifications awarded by an approved higher education institutions and identifies the knowledge, skills, competencies, and values from this institution would have acquired. Bangladesh Qualification Framework, as you know, in higher part of part B is to explore various features and dimensions of Bangladesh open learning as well as different template and align program educational objectives and program learning outcomes and mapping mission of the university with PEOs. Moreover, up-to-date structure of the curriculum, assessment and evaluation part, learning outcome domains such as fundamental, social, thinking in a personal domain will be developed. Dear audience, as you are aware that there has been a phenomenal expansion of higher education in Bangladesh in the last decade, as it is evident from the enormous increase in the number of universities, colleges, and students. At the time of our independence in 1971, there were only 6 public universities, 252 intermediate and degree colleges, and 10 teachers training colleges in the country. Today, there are 50 public and 107 private universities and 2,350 affiliated colleges under national university in the country. At the moment, out of 157 universities, Institutional Quality Assurance Center is working in 107 universities, including both public and private. Due to pandemic situation, ongoing activities of IQAC are desperate university level enrollment is not our focus. We also focus on the quality of education. It can be mentioned here that the position of receiving tertiary education of Bangladesh is fourth in 2020. The first, second, and third position is China, India, and Indonesia, respectively. We firmly believe that today's workshop on blended learning as well as quality framework has opened up a new horizon in teaching learning world and enrich our faculty members' career to cope with globalized world. We believe quantity without quality is a sure prescription for disaster. We won't like to make any disaster in our higher education institutions. For improving the quality of higher education institutions, we have been seeking assistance from World Bank, Asian Development Bank, British Council, JICA, SIDA, European universities, and different platforms of higher education institutions across the world. Dear audience, I'd like to mention a few issues about our higher educational programs, what we are doing and what we are planning to implement, especially in our quality education. Please be informed that Higher Education Quality Enhancement Project, a joint venture project of Government of Bangladesh and World Bank, was launched in May 2009 and folded its wings in December 2018. And the total value of the project was $238.1 million US. The main objectives of the project was to improve the quality and relevance of the teaching and research environment in higher education institutions through encouraging both innovation and accountability within the universities and by enhancing the technical and institutional capacity of higher education sector. In keeping with the Sustainable Development Goals 2016 to 2030 of the United Nations, Bangladesh government is committed to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. In this connection, University Grants Commission has developed quality assurance model, self-assessment model, academic innovation fund in different windows in 70 universities, both public and private, during our project period. Dear audience, as you know, strategic planning in higher education 2018 to 2030 was approved by the Honorable Prime Minister in 2018. The first recommendation of the first meeting of Monitoring Committee chaired by Honorable Education Minister in October 2020 was to integrate online and offline education method in the name of blended learning method and formulate the draft within a short span of time. In this regard, University Grants Commission received multifaceted recommendations, suggestions from the universities and various stakeholders. Now, we are giving emphasis on the issues of blended learning, which part of the course will be online, how will course material be developed and delivered on online, which method will be used in online teaching, traditional broadcast method or flipped classroom or hybrid method. How will the teachers be trained or oriented? Which part of the course will be on site? How will the technology be made available to students and teachers for online teaching? How will the course material be available for the students as well as teachers? And there are many issues now we are thinking, and we are formulating this sort of blended learning by 30 of June 2021. So dear participants, I'd like to focus on a few issues. So for understand from the presentation of our special guest today, that presentation and personal study on blended learning, I understand that blended learning combines the best of two teaching environments. There is traditional face-to-face classroom training or teaching and high-tech e-learning. And we can engage our students, all types of learners, those who can learn better in a structured environment that include face-to-face interaction with an instructor. Blended learning method is now gaining popularity all over the world, especially in Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Singapore. And it was first introduced in Belgium and many universities of Europe as well as US. At the moment, we have to develop a learning management system because we have to be accountable to everyone. We have to learn everything based on our feedback on online and offline or on-site technologies. So it will work on lower cost, and it will create some sort of fun and engagement and to reach and personalization. So if you think about our SDG 4, so we'd like to focus on three issues, that is motivation, learning by doing, and good teaching, that are speaker he mentioned in the way of emphatic learning. We have to have some follow the three domain of knowledge. We are drafting blended learning method in Bangladesh, that is cognitive domain, psychomotor domain, and effective domain. So when the blended learning will be implemented in Bangladesh, we will be able to reach the issues of the students and teachers as well, face to face, and it may be repeated, an integration of learning method, process, gamification, online lab, self-blend, and online driver. So we are trying to establish these sort of issues. And today's seminar, and which presentation by our honorable special guest and speaker today, so we can materialize the issue what he presented to them based on European perspective. Dear guests, as you're aware that University Grants Commission and Ministry of Education is now giving more endeavors to make our higher education more qualitative. We have somehow facilitated higher education a bit, but we are not contented. We want to design our universities with world-class characteristics, provided with world-class education, smooth and unhindered access to technology, global orientation, and responsible leadership. Our aim is to make our young learners able to think logically, analytically, and critically. Last but not the least, I do expect through this seminar the knowledge about blended learning and national qualification framework about Bangladesh as well as Europe. And we are more familiar with PLO, CLO, teaching strategy, course plan, generic skills, blah, blah. And we can follow now European standard guidelines, and these things we can incorporate in our framework as well as our blended learning. And I'd like to welcome our honorable director of blended learning, Dr. Akhtar Zaman. He's also in our team member, and we are planning to analyze all the issues in the next week. So dear participants, that's all from side, but I'd like to quote one quotation from American poet Robert Frost. Quote, "These woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." Thanks once again, indeed, arranging for such kind of time befitting and praise of this seminar. So I'd like to thanks once again, Definite International University, and our speaker from Sweden. And as a CETA fellow, I'm really CETA government research on education for sustainable development as well as education for leadership, and to develop some sort of framework for Bangladesh government. So thank you very much once again. Long live Bangladesh.
Thank you, Dr. Islam. And that was such a poetic way to finish. And indeed, Bangladesh has a long way to go before we sleep in terms of blended learning and online learning. Ladies and gentlemen, we already have a few questions, but before we go for the question answer session, We do have another speaker who was our guest of honor, and he is Professor Dr. A.K.M. Fazlul Haq. He is currently working as the Director of the Institutional Quality Assurance Cell IQSC at Daffodil International University. Dr. Haq is also serving as a Professor of Electronics and Telecom Engineering Department and Associate Dean of the Faculty of Engineering at DIU. Professor Hawk obtained his MSc Engineering from the University of Applied Science, Germany, and PhD from Jahangirnagar University. He was recognized as the most outstanding professor by the World Education Congress 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to hear from Professor Dr. A.K.M. Fazlul Haq. So over to you.
Thank you very much. May I audible?
Yes, you are audible,
Okay.
sir.
So first, I'm getting apology to you because due to technical problems, actually I could not reach you on time. So that's why I'm very sorry to you. I'm just sharing my screen. So I think you can see my screen. Okay. So dear participants, dear respected guests here, dignitaries, I think you can see my slide. Is it okay?
Yes, sir, we can see your
Okay.
slides.
So quality of higher education. So I was just sharing from our honorable dignitaries regarding this part. Actually, I'd like to mention here two things here. This online learning. From the beginning of the middle of March 2020, when the government of Bangladesh declared the pandemic situation time that education was all universities closed that time. Daffodil International University took initiative. Even a single day we did not stop our education. We introduced in Bangladesh first time that blended learning center, and this more than 1.5 year actually we are continuing our education in this university. Online education and some tools methodologies we are using here. So there are many talks here. Our speaker talked about the regarding matter of fact, but in the point of view now, how actually we are maintaining the quality of this online education? That's the question, because it was very challenging at the last year in the March. At that time, just Google Meet or some other tools they were using at the beginning, but eventually, actually we are now in a smart position. I'll show you actually what we are doing, how we maintain our quality, our assessment, our education. So engineering, emerging technologies, online blended learning, and some other parts also we are considering for this purpose. Quality education, we know this quality part here, accountability and purposeful and exceptional, transformative, many things is considered here. Dear audience, I'll just show you, if you allow me, I'll show you some topics here that regarding this our scenario. I'm just showing you one course, our blended learning. Suppose computer network. What actually we are doing in our BLC platform. Suppose this is computer network course. If we allow the students or some guests in this course, from remote network or from distance learning, you can see the first what we are student can see from here. The teacher, my short profile, they are looking from here. This is one video is given here, the necessity of online education. That's the course rational introduction objective of the course. That is online attendance of the course. I am just starting from here. Suppose if I hear the lesson plan, the government of the Bangladesh University Grants Commission, Bangladesh Education Council, actually they are providing our outcome-based education and lesson plan and HECA project. We can introduce some information from here. One course, actually the teacher, what teacher should do? Teacher should write this methodology. I'm just sorry, some information is, you can see here, That is one lecture. Suppose teacher student can see from here. That is my one lecture actually plan. One lecture, suppose for 1 day lecture plan. How I will conduct this lecture. This information belongs to the BLC part here. It is mentioned here. The student and teacher can see from this information. Lesson slide for that particular course, I can see also the lesson slide, what student actually will learn from this information. Every information also is there for this correspondence to the students. Even look here, pre-recorded video lecture is given here. That means one lecture, I have lesson plan, lesson slide, pre-recorded lecture in the studio for this particular course, and also live lecture recorded video. And look here, there is a reflection of the lecture forum, everything. So one lecture, I have lesson plan, I have his percentage is using frequently, standard deviation, variance, statistical probability, which time actually he is accessing this software, how many times he spent for video, how many times he spent for questionnaire or other parts, all information we can see. Suppose 10 classes gone, how can I assess that what students are doing? We are frequently use this to the students. We can show, dear Mr. Hasibul, that is your report. That is, you are not doing, you are not available in the VLC class or online class. Please be concerned. Immediately he can understand, yes, that is my weakness, and immediately he can solve the problem. For every student, every course, that is my report I'm getting from here. Even what teachers, how many activity he is doing. Even every semester from the register office IQSC, we are giving to the report to the Honorable Vice Chancellor. That's this course particularly, teachers are not familiar, teachers are not getting interactive with the students are not getting interested for this class. What additional advice need to the teachers we are providing from here, from the university authority. The expert teachers are giving such a kind of technique how to use these tools, or how can he improve its tools or BLC platform. Every time we are doing like this. BLC director BLC is here, Mr. Shal Mamun also the one person of BLC, and IQAC team jointly we are trying to working actually to improve the teacher's performance at this university level. So this is actually the short part of the BLC. It's a very big environment here. Additionally, I'd like to mention one thing there, dear sir. Here you are suppose that is the reflection of the today's lecture. You can see, sir, when I'm taking the class, after that immediately there's a forum. A student can write many things here. Suppose one student is writing what I am getting the information from here. Teacher immediately getting reply. That's a forum for one class. Student saying, I am understanding this part, sir, but I am not understanding this part. Immediately teachers are giving reply for this lecture. That means there is no way to avoid the lecture contents understanding. If teacher does not give the reply, we administrator will immediately understand. This student have query, but teacher did not give the reply. We are giving report to the teacher immediately. Sir, please do it. So in this process, we are now in system. We can do many things from here. We are using this. So I will like to recognize our Fakrul Islam sir also. He was talking about, I was hearing the last times the Bangladesh Education Council, we have had a session. The chairman of Bangladesh Education Council and honorable members Sanjay Adhikari sir, they also recognize that if any university needs help in this time, the teacher of the Daffodil University can help to the other universities. Yes, sir, we are doing like this. If any supports from other university teachers needs, we are immediately doing this, because that's the problem of whole nation. Actually, we are helping to each other, and there is a big team, around 60 persons we have. They are every day they are trying to develop these BLC activities, because we don't know how many times it takes last for this COVID situation. So we are day by day we are trying to improve our situations, and we hope that we will do it accordingly. So that's my slide part, because the time already we have sometimes 30 minutes, I think later. I had some many information here to tell you, but shortly for the technical problem, I am just finishing my talks regarding BLC or something. I tried a short description about our BLC platforms, and that's my things that we are trying to maintaining the quality, not only just providing education, not only just giving lectures, not only just taking our assignments or our some other parts. We are trying to maintain the quality of this education. That means in this situation, even students, when they will go to market, they will be a good graduate from this university. We are actually thinking about the matter of fact. So I'm just, I don't want to prolong my speech. I'm now finishing. So thank you very much. Thank you, the moderator of this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hawk. That was a quick review of what we do as teachers using Blended Learning Center for our Daffodil students. Yes, as you said that we have run out of time, but we want to have a little question answer session because there are some questions in my hand. So I'm going to start with Dr. Eba Osia-Nelson, and maybe Professor Eba can talk about, is quality assurance process different for face-to-face education and digital education, and how?
Thank you very much for the question. It's a very good one. I would say it depends. For example, I talked about European standard and guidelines. that is for all kind of education, and that is the one which is used in most European universities. It has been already since 2015, and was done with this consideration for online learning and blended learning, distance learning. The amendment, I will say, it's there are issues, there are dimensions which are different for online courses and distance courses. So that was the reason why this considerations for e-learning provision was developed in Europe. And that goes along with what I was mentioned, for example, about the learners' perspectives about their courses. Maybe you remember the slide I had with the learner in the center, and then I had some dimensions about the trust, transparency, participation, accessibility, all this support, all these kind of things. So there are, of course, and also for the core dimensions like student support, for example. Distance education students need different kind of infrastructure for the support structure. For example, libraries access, for example, study guidance. This is just to mention some aspects. So yes, there are different, but I would also like to say what is good for online learners is mainly often also good for campus learners. So if we merge the two of them, it will be good for everyone. And also with the hybrid system, when more and more, I mean, even in campus education, more and more is, as have been explicit from all our presentations today, there are more and more asynchronous events. And I don't know if that was an answer for the question, but there are special issues which are more important than ever for distance education. As I also said, the study group is so diverse and so heterogeneous, and we need really to learn to know who they are and what kind of situation and context they have.
Okay, so there have been debates about face-to-face and online education and which one is better and all that. But as I assume from your answer, you are proposing a mixture for the future. Like in our case, we had this symposium, we had a conference, and we used the term phygital. So are you proposing that that would be a better solution, after pandemic time?
Yes, I am very, very sure there will be a new normal, what is also used to be called, because there's no way back to what we knew about in February in 2020. And I'm working so much in different kind of contexts internationally, and everyone is saying we need to adapt for the new normal, and the new normal is different. There are other dimensions which are important. For example, this one on well-being.
Okay, thank you, Professor Eba. I would now move on to Dr. Muhammad Fakhrul Islam. Sir, can you talk about if the organizational culture contribute to quality assurance, and if it does, then what kind of organizational culture can most influence the high quality standard? Is there a connection between organizational culture and quality assurance? Sir. Dr. Islam?
Microphone.
You can unmute, sir. You can unmute.
Sir, you have to unmute
Hello?
yourself. Yes, now we can hear
Thank you very much. Can you hear? As you know, the University Grants Commission is an apex statutory body, and we look after 153 universities. And at the moment, we have 107 universities that are functional on IQC. IQC, it's a term that we are using since 2014. Before 2017, the universities of Bangladesh were not familiar about institutional quality assurance, but we are trying to implement all the issues of IQC which are part of our real life situation education. So most of the universities, they are doing very well in IQAC, but the universities which are in remote areas of Bangladesh, especially private university and some public university, they don't have any IQC center. So if there is an IQC center, it's very difficult to conduct our workshop, seminar, our dialogue, our discussion. So due to pandemic, since 2020, that is March 2020, so most of the activities of IQC are not in functional, but we are trying to stimulate them, we are trying to encourage them, we are trying to make sure that whether they are functional or not. But from last 2 months, last 6 months, we are providing training on quality assurance. We are providing training on outcome-based education, and now centers are more functional. And we have a plan to, though the pandemic is continuing, so we are planning to finish all sort of workshops, training, and seminar by December 2021. So that way, government as well as university transformation is very much optimistic that we will be able to provide our training, workshop, seminar, in virtual platform. But if it is possible, as when we provide any training, trainers don't like to feel free, because virtual platform, the online training is not a good training for the teachers as well as the trainers. And to today's situation, what happened? We had a plan to start our program at 8, but due to some sort of disruption, we started 8:20. So it happens in the remotest part of the country, and due to some natural calamities, especially rural areas, and cyclone, tornado, thundering, electricity disruption happens frequently. So
Sir, it
we are trying
happens
to
in physical program as well. We had physical programs scheduled at
So
10, and then we had to wait for
and
minister to arrive. So it happens in physical program as well.
so if we can establish blended learning center or blended learning method in the university, so students, they can get access and they can take some sort of assistance all the time, the university blended learning center. So that too we are planning.
Yes.
So this is our initial stage. We have many things to do in future. Thank you very much.
Okay. But I still want to know a bit more about the connection with between organizational culture and quality assurance. So, Dr. Osia Nilsson, would you like to say a few words on this?
Yes, of course, culture is important, and it's very, very important, because I think I mentioned that also in my presentation, that you need to learn to know the context where the learners are, and also the monitoring and evaluation system in the country. What universities are, when universities are developing their strategies for quality, of course, it needs to be in the context of the national culture for quality and quality assurance and enhancement. And also, of course, everything needs to be contextualized. I think I mentioned also that, I said, we are more similar around the globe than maybe different, but we are also different due to the culture, due to the language, due to the history, a lot of things. So it really need to, when you talk about quality, you need to contextualize it.
Well, as a faculty member, this question is actually important to me. What are the most important criteria for teachers' performance assessment in digital platform when we are talking about blended and online learning?
If the question is for me, I don't really get the point of your question.
Okay. My question was, what are the most important criteria for assessing teachers' performance in the digital platform?
I think I would mention maybe several, not just one. First of all, it is very, very crucial and important, as also Börje Holmberg was arguing already in the 70s, about engagement, how to engage the students, the learners, and make the course attractive, that there is something for me. And you need also to have the navigation in an attractive way, so it is not boring. I mean, many courses built on LMS, for example, are very, very boring because you have to scroll down and it's so easy to get lost. And also, so engagement and navigation, transparency is very, very crucial. And also, one thing which is important is about presence, that the learners feel presence by the teachers all the time, maybe not all the time, 24 hours a day, but I mean, really feel present, but also the presence with between the learners, and also presence with the learning materials. And of course, about the trust, that they feel that they can really trust what is there in whatever kind of system you have the material in. That is, it's a value.
Yes, I think I get all your points as a teacher, and it's important to engage learners in physical face-to-face classes as well as in the online platform. But I think in blended or online learning, student engagement is more challenging. Okay, I'll go now to Dr. Ekem Fazlul Haq because he is the director of IQSC at Daffodil. And I would like to pose this question to you. What are the prime changes made to the quality assurance process because of the pandemic? We have been, doing this for quite some time, more than a year. So from the IQSC director's position, can you tell us what changes did you bring into the quality assurance process because of the pandemic? Sir.
Yes, in my presentation, I tried to show actually, thank you for this nice question. I'd like to draw the attention to speakers also, they said very nicely. I mentioned actually that for 2020 March, when government declared that the university education face-to-face, the lockdown like this, but we said that Daffodil International University, we did not stop even a single day for our education, because we continued, because this blended learning center was actually established this 10 years back, but it was just virtual process we did parallelly. But when pandemic situation came, now it came to the front actually. I'm saying that the last year we had there is a BLC team here. I'm just saying that 60 workshop, 60 to 70 continuous workshop to learn actually the BLC platform, how to teach, how to assess the student, how to be interactive in the class, what could be our materials. Just our Eva, our speaker, she mentioned that what a teacher actually need for this blended learning for digital platform. Actually, we spent 6 months actually that to learn how to proceed on and how to be very smart in digital platform. Now actually we can assess, even you, I am asking what you are doing in your course. Remotely I can show very easily now what actually you are doing. You all teachers are now very concerned that what he has to do, and if he or she does not continue, I on behalf of this IQSC or from university, I can tell you actually what you are doing. So we had challenges, but we overcome. Now we easily overcome the challenges because we have many tools here. Okay, I will just mention one thing. After continuing the online teaching, assessment was very important. We faced assessment. That's why I say the how we can assess the student, because face-to-face teacher was invigilator in the class. What students are doing, we could say. But even I'm talking, student making login. If I don't see his face or her face, what exactly he is doing or she is doing. So to avoid cheating or to have quality, we are doing such a techniques. Recently, you can say 15 additional tools have been added to the BLC for assessing avoid cheating. Okay, so we are giving assignment, we are giving just 2 days we had the one session. That means one credit course 640 hours, that is notional time. One credit 40 hours notional time. That means I am giving lecture 1 hour. Apart from that, additional works I am giving, homework, assignment, some other related topic to be more interactive with the class. We are really now doing actually. So this way, 1.5 hours we have passed, and we are assessing the quality education this way. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hawk. My last question will be to Dr. Muhammad Fakhrul Islam, sir. But for those other questions, our thanks go to Mr. Khandakar Shah Al Mamun. He was really inquisitive. So now I would like to ask Dr. Islam about what UGC has been doing to kind of pull all the universities of Bangladesh to face this challenges of pandemic and conducting classes online, because not all the universities are doing it in the same manner. Some of the universities, obviously Daffodil, they're very strong in online education, but not all the universities are capable of doing that. So what is the government doing, or what is the UGC's actions they have taken so far, or they're planning to take in future to pull them all together in the same position? Dr. Islam.
Hello.
Yes, yes,
Hello.
we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Yes, go on.
Thank you very much for your time question. As you know, University Grants Commission promulgated office order in 7th May 2020, and our pandemic started on 17th March 2020. So when I was the director of private university division, so in my tenure, I had promulgated 3 office order regarding pandemic situation, how we can handle classes, how we can handle examinations. So we followed, University Grants Commission of India, Philippines Higher Education Commission, and we also followed, COHI, that is, Council of Higher Education of Turkey. We talked to HECFI, Higher Education Funding Council of UK. So based on this information and their website, we gathered knowledge and our experiences, and we drafted an instruction to the all universities maintaining 17 points. So that was very much clear from UGC and government side. So getting this directives from University Grants Commission, all the universities except public university, they abide by all the rules and regulations of University Grants Commission. And for that reason, as you know, that was the result. All private universities are very much functional. And Professor Hogg rightly mentioned that, in private university, they did not stop their academic function for a single day. And you also agree with me, in the private university, there is any session jam. But in public universities, scenario is totally different. So public university, they're waiting for another instruction, and then they claim all the time, most of the students are very poor, though they are meritorious, they don't have any capability to purchase mobile phone, smartphone, laptop, tablet, internet connection is very costly. This sort of lame excuse they produced University Grants Commission. So we talked to Minister of Finance and as well as Minister of Education, and Minister of Finance allocated in Bangladeshi taka 50 crore for the public university to procure smart mobile, and we provided loan to the students. But due to some reasons, university, they could not provide a loan to the students because they took huge time to make a list of poor students. And it's very difficult to categorize those who are poor, those who are from remotest area, and students, they left Dhaka city, those are studying in the Dhaka University, BOET, other universities surrounding the Dhaka city. So they took huge time, but we couldn't, streamlining all the public universities, but that is our failure. But I'd like to say all the private universities, except few ones, they are doing very well, and they are on in virtual platform. They are using, blended learning. They are using flip learning method, and most of the universities are doing fantastic. But now public university, they have raised another issue that we need the approval of academic committee, we need the approval of syndicate, and they have reserve board of trustees. But in private university, they are run, they are administered by the only board of trustees. So private university, there isn't a problem, but problem with the public university. But
Okay, so
all
it's
the
easier.
universities now to keep pace this demand of students, and students, as they are raising their voice, but teachers, they are keeping silent in public university. But we have imposed last month that all the public universities, they must start their academic function, they must start to take examinations, they must evaluate their students. And for that reason, we have given another instruction for practical class. They can make a group or 10 to 15 students group, and by following these sort of group, they can conduct their practical classes. And the students, those are in remotest, they are only able to attend the classes. So the students, they will lose their session or their semester, so they won't be penalized due to some sort of reasons. But we have to go ahead, we have to make these sort of problems. And now public university honorable vice chancellors and academics, they are very much aware, and now they are concerned how they can handle all the issues. And we are also hopeful that this problem will be solved very soon, because the pandemic is going on. Don't know where is the ending. So
Yes.
this is a part of our life. So there is no other alternative way.
All right.
So that we are handling, but to some extent there's some barriers, there's some hindrance.
Yes,
Okay,
I
thank you very
understand
much.
that. Okay, thank you, Dr. Islam. We have moved towards the end of our workshop, our webinar. And before I say goodbye to you, I would like to call Dr. Muhammad Akhtaruzaman, Director of Blended Learning Center of Daffodil International University, to offer his vote of thanks. Sir.
Thank you very much. Excellent presentations and discussions, actually. I would like to, at the end, I would like to thank Professor Ebba Osilianation, Dr. Fakhrul Islam from the UGC. He's one of the leading experts of this quality assurance as well as curriculum expert, actually. He's a very good in curriculum design and development. And I would like to say special thanks to both of Professor Ebba and Dr. Fakhrul Islam because of their very busy schedule. And they accepted our invitation. Thank you once again. Thanks also to Professor A.K.M. Fazlul Haq, for despite many troubles of technical issues, at the end he joined and he delivered a very nice speech. And Mr. Shah Al Mamoon, actually he collecting all the information from the social medias and the questions, and altogether Tahsinam Yasmin ma'am is super excellent in moderating sessions. He is a professional moderator in Bangladesh, I believe. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Akhtaruzaman, sir, for being so brief, and thank you for that profuse compliment for me. This is the end of today's webinar. On behalf of BLC and IQSC at Daffodil International University, would like to thank you for attending the program. I would like to wish a good day to our North American colleagues, good evening to our European and Arabian colleagues, and good night to our local participants. Stay safe,
Thank you.
stay blessed.
Thank you very much.